Hello, everyone. Today we have a very special guest, Amy Baker, the CEO of The Pie. Some of you might already know her from the industry, but for the ones who don't know, if you introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Hi, everybody. And yeah, I do know many ALTO members personally, which is a real pleasure. For those who don't know The Pie, we are a media, events and careers company focusing on international education. We were set up by myself and two business partners nearly 10 years ago, and we focus on the global international education industry, hence the name The Pie.
Great. So again, just to remind our viewers.
Sorry, can I just say,
yeah.
Sorry, that doesn't make any sense. The PI stands for Professionals in International Education, hence the name The Pie. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
Actually, I didn't know that. That's something good that I've learned. But that's a good one. So these are a series of interviews that we're conducting on behalf of ALTO. And the idea here is to grasp the idea of what the industry leaders think about the future of the industry and the current situation of the industry as a result of the COVID-19. And once again, I would like to thank you so much, Amy, for accepting our invitation to take part in these series of interviews. Normally, I know that you interview the industry leaders, but today, we changed that position just for a little few minutes. So thank you again. And my name is Selim Dervish. I'm the director of Academia United, and I'm also an ALTO member. So here we are. We are all living in a very different time zone almost, Amy. At the moment, I'm at my mom's apartments in south of Turkey, in Antalya. And normally, as you know, at this time of the year, the summer times, for our industry, we're all very busy with our students, with our school partners. These are, our busy times. But this year, things have changed a little bit. From a personal point of view, how has this affected your personal life, your family life? What has changed in your life?
Well, I'm glad to say that nothing much has changed, so that's good. So no one's been ill. And when I say nothing much has changed, I should explain that myself and Jane and Claire, my co-directors, we set The Pie up nearly a decade ago, as I said, to make it a family flexible business. So we all have children. We wanted to run our business and see our families grow, hopefully both growing at the same time. So we've always had a policy of working 2 days from home. So actually the shift to working online from home was not a difficult one for our business, and everybody in the whole company had always worked from home for a few days a week. So personal life hasn't been too bad. I do have children who are at home studying, but I also have a husband who is good at being the school of dad. So that has been beneficial too. I know it's much more challenging if you're trying to work and be a teacher at the same time. But I've basically given that job to someone else.
Lucky you.
Lucky them, I think. Yeah. So yeah, personal wise, just working long hours, honestly, because this will bring us on to the next question, but the industry has just been in a state of crisis. Education's been the most hit industry. I think Forbes suggested it was going to be worse hit than retail. It's hugely significant. So working long hours, just trying to keep on top of what's happening. And we have a global readership, and I guess I'm on calls. I feel like I'm on, as we all are, on Zoom calls all times of the day and night.
And if you move to the business side, you're very well connected within the industry. So you've got the news. How do you foresee the near future of our industry, the language travel industry and the education industry in general, international education industry? And also, how has the recent situation affected specifically your own business?
So for our own business, we know so many education businesses, agencies, language schools, higher ed. We know so many businesses really well and work with them really well, but we're actually a completely different business. So we're a media, events, careers business, and actually our readership has skyrocketed. So we are having far more people coming onto our website. Nearly 500,000 a month. Everyone wants to know what's happening. Everyone wants to know what students are thinking. That is the big question right now: is are students still going to travel? So we're busier than ever. And then in terms of events, obviously we can't run our events in person, but we have we sort of quickly pivoted into doing webinars, and they've been super popular. So people coming in every week, if they can't make it live, they can watch the replay. But for us, actually, that's been a really, really lovely new iteration, I guess, of what we do is the pie. So virtual events for different segments of our readership. So some are aimed at education agencies. So it will be, you know, education agencies speak to some universities in Canada, for example, everything you want to know about whether you can still get to Canada or not. Some of them are based on the ed tech side of the industry. So how are you actually going to help students study online and move online? What platforms are you using? We might be looking at a regional focus. So what's happening in Australia around this, or in China? But we've been able to essentially come up with a whole range of iterations of webinars, virtual events, which have been really well attended. So for our personal business, busier than ever, but a big move into virtual. But when you have a global community, actually moving into an online event format wasn't difficult. Happy to talk about the industry more widely though, and it's very, very challenging. So, I mean, we've had lots of conversations for creating news content, and also just because, you know, we're well connected with lots of association heads, but particularly for the language travel sector and education agencies, particularly education agencies who work primarily in that space, I guess. But I think it's very difficult. Nobody is expecting students to travel really for the rest of 2020. It's very, very hard for businesses to survive. Many won't, and I think that's the brutal reality. I mean, we don't need to, I don't know if you want to get into country specifics, but particularly in the UK, there's been some really challenging policy decisions around things like business rates relief, which means schools are struggling more than they might need to. It's going to be very challenging, and the role of associations has really come to the fore in terms of trying to support their membership. What I would say is, from the broader industry context, international education, governments have realised how important international students are. Obviously, very often language training is the first step on that bigger journey towards studying at a higher level abroad. Governments are making policy settings, policy tweaks to make sure students are able to come and travel as soon as they are safe to do so. And I think the international student revenue and how vital international students are for underpinning research, for supporting universities, but also supporting economies, that has been more keenly realised at a government level than ever before. So for the businesses that can survive and sustain and get through 2020, I think 2021 will be interesting. I think there will still be appetite for students to travel. It's been pointed out to me quite a few times that students don't have very many other options. So they might not like the idea of studying online, but it's not like they can take a gap year very easily either. So I think 2020 is all about making the best of what you can do, given that there's a sort of global travel ban right now, and looking forward to 2021 really. But I think students will still have an appetite to travel, to learn abroad, study abroad. But there's no getting away from the fact that it's been very difficult. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of students, I mean, there's so much uncertainty among business professionals, but we've seen so many students also coming to our website now because they're desperately trying to absorb any information they can get. They want to know, can they travel? What does quarantine look like? If I study online, who's going to support me? I mean, there's just, I mean, I'm sure you'd agree, but it's just so much uncertainty, I think, right now.
There has been a recent survey that ALTO partnered with some concerned group schools leaders. And one of the questions there was, when do you think that the businesses will return back to at least 50% back to normal compared to the pre-COVID times? If I ask the same question as the last question, when do you think the international education sector, specifically the language travel sector, will return back to at least 50% of revenue generation compared to the pre-COVID-19 times?
I mean, so I'd like to say next year, spring, summer next year, but this will all depend on the second spike, which we're seeing in multiple countries. I just came off of a call with Australia before I was speaking to you, and they were expecting to allow international students in from July, but actually, in fact, they're reversing. They're back in lockdown in Melbourne. I mean, that's not going to happen. And I think there was lots of optimism in sort of April, May that this would be over, you know, by September. I don't think that's the case. Having said that, we're just about to talk about air bridges, aren't we? In the UK, we're looking at air bridges being talked about this week with up to 75 countries. I mean, and I wonder whether if we get through a fairly successful holiday season with families choosing to travel between countries on air bridges, then that will give them the sort of security they need and peace of mind to send their children abroad next year. I mean, I'd like to say next summer.
And if you ever happen to make your summer holidays towards the south of Turkey, just one thing for you, don't forget to bring your sun cream. It's really boiling hot in here. Amy Baker from the PI, thank you so much for joining us again today. Your insight was very valuable. And it's Selim Döveshir, an ALTO member, board member, and also the director of Academia United. Hopefully we will see you in one of the next series of our interviews, but thank you so much again. What's your last thing to say that you want to say to our viewers, Amy?
Keep on keeping on. It's a tough time, but we'd love to support as much as we can, and ALTO's doing a great job of keeping a global community going in a tough time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amy.
All right. Thank you.